May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. And the chant that we just chanted is not for me, but it's for all of us. And according to your own condition and being, how true it is that you are profound, more than you can understand or imagine how profound each one of us is. It's like we're in this galaxy right now, and each one is a star. Each one, and is shining brightly. What does a star do? A star shines and illuminates. And we revolve in that same manner. So it's really, I mean, even when Suzuki-roshi asked me to become ordained, I said, I'm not good. I'm a bad boy, or I'm not good enough. But that's your ego again. And the ego is right along with you. They say, it's said in the Abhidharma, an ancient text, that in one instant, this like an instant like this, one instant, there are 6,000 births and deaths within your being, with the entire universe. And it's moving in that way that we're in the shadow, the big shadow of reality. Our conditioned thoughts, what we're thinking of, they've gone. The instances are moving. Time is ticking. It's moving. And it's hard for us to catch up with it because we don't know that this life is so ephemeral. Charlie Musselwhite, renowned harmonica player, blues, he sent me this email, what Gandhi said. They asked Gandhi, what do you think of Western civilization? And Gandhi said, I think it's a good idea. but that's not what Gandhi meant. I admired him even more and more so because he was one of the only people in history that did nonviolence. I mean, he was a genius. And not just a genius, but he took the risk and the beatings to prove that it works. You know, he stepped out, he stepped over the line. And that's what we have to do in our very life. We can't just sit back. It's after our holidays, getting up late, eating good food. We have to step forward again, again, and again, and again. Each star is encouraging each other. Unless there's a black hole. But the stars are shining right now, but we can't see them. And this is, okay, so that's what Gandhi said. And Suzuki-roshi used to give talks, and he said, probably the average age was like 20 to, oldest was probably 35. But we were all pretty young. And he says, just as you are, it's okay, just like yourself, just how you are. But he meant it in a very Zen sense, how you are without the projections and the obstructions, just how you are. And then all the students looked at him, you mean just how I am? And then he said, with a little improvement. See, that's the difference. So Gandhi may have said, yes, Western civilization is good, but it could use a little improvement. And this is what the Dalai Lama said. When asked what surprised him most about humanity, and his answer was man, or mankind. Because he or she sacrifices their health in order to make lots of money. Then he or she sacrifices money to restore their health. Huh? It's exactly what happens. And then he is so anxious about the future that he doesn't know how to enjoy the present. He's always 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, anticipating, expecting, anticipation. The result being that he or she does not live in the present nor even the future. He or she lives as if he or she is never going to die. And then dies having never really lived. And so that's really sad when you think about it. It's no joke. It's the truth. On the way to the city the other day, people are coming home from work. And there are thousands of cars with hundreds of people inside those cars. And it's from San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, all the way to Santa Rosa. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but when you see it, what does that do to a person that's trying to support his or her family? That kind of conditioning for 30, 40 years, what does it do to a person? You know, how can you live just doing that? There has to be something more to life. That's really sad. 40 years conditioning, 50 years of conditioning, 60 years of conditioning. Yeah, forgive me, I just threw all these notes together like a pot of soup. And so here it is. Last year I forgot to mention these 2 4-year-olds, because I have a grandson that's 4 years. And these young people are very unnoticed, babies and children and teenagers. They're not people. I think most people respond that way to our next generation, our younger generation. And so when we had the bazaar, it turns out she's my dentist, and her son, who's 4 years old, said, "Mom, let's go to the toilet." And she said, I don't need to go to the toilet. But he pulled her and he took her down to the bathhouse and he showed her the structure. This 4-year-old can recognize something beautiful. Where does that beauty go with him? 4 years old. And I got a letter from Ossining, New York, from a parent and another 4-year-old. And I wrote something to them to try to encourage their practice of Zazen. That's the best thing you could do for yourself and for other people. And at the end of the letter, I said, this is a Zen saying, "Spring comes and grass grows of itself." And the 4-year-old said, "That's terrific." The parents didn't get it, but the 4-year-old got it. But what happens to that insight and that joy, you know, as we drive, go to work and go down the highway? We have to keep it alive, because we'd be dead or we'd be ghost. This was, we were in the Wilga forest in Poland last year, and the head student, Marisha Hołubowicz, my Polish is not so good. She quoted a Dogen saying from Fukan Zenji, we should try, I'm paraphrasing this, we should try to cease from practice based on conceptual thinking. You know, pursuing and chasing ideas or attached to our speech, but learn the backward step. Learn the backward step that turns your light inwardly to illuminate the self, yourself. And when that happens, when it's exact timing, when the vertical and horizontal meet, when that happens, your body and mind themselves will drop away. The idea, you won't disappear. The idea, the concept, the self, your body and mind will drop away, will disappear. And your original face, or your true face, your true self, your Buddha nature, your basic goodness will be manifest. If you want to attain suchness, they call it stuff or suchness, try to practice suchness without delay. You know, as you get older and older, you realize that the brevity of your life, no one knows the brevity of our life. Because I think basically we think we live forever, but it's not true. And as you get older, then you see your friends and your peers, they start disappearing. You begin realizing. But we can realize it earlier by just looking around. You see the loneliness of people in the streets. You wonder, geez, what do people do? Why are they going so fast? What's going on here? Not only have a dysfunctional government, the Congress, but dysfunctional everywhere. People are no longer walking across the street. They are talking across the street with their cell phones. They're always occupied or preoccupied, and distraction. That's the whole point, to be distracted from your original face, from your true self. So let's go back. These words, body and mind themselves will drop up, remain very mysterious to me for years. But actually, it's just, put it in other words, the idea of the self will dissolve. You will not disappear. Historically, I could say that you will not disappear. No one has disappeared. But the idea of the self will disappear. And when it disappears, you will see that you are the universe. But you have to let that go. You have to not hold on. Who you think you are is not who you are. That's could be a motto or an axiom. Who you think you are is really not who you are, or who you try to be. You know, we have all these ideas, and when we, even Zen students, when they practice a long time, they become strong and they're fearless, or but you become more and more human, more vulnerable, and you shake and you tremble and you sweat. You really become human. It's not some idea, I'm going to get stronger, you know, and I won't feel these things. It's to become really human. And so, like, here's this point, learn the backward step. This is Dogen's term. And instead of turning your attention or your light out there and looking at things and grasping things, you reverse it and you turn your attention or your awareness inside. And you begin investigating what is inside. There's a poem on Trungpa Stupa here that when you take the backward step, your light inwardly, that turns your light inwardly to illuminate yourself. And there's on Trungpa Stupa here, there's a poem written on one of the posts, and it says, the light of the jewel illuminates the jewel itself. Light could be prajna, could be wisdom. The light of the jewel. Who is the jewel? You are the jewel. You are the star. And you turn it inwardly, and it illuminates. It dissolves greed, anger, and ignorance. Those are the three super conditions. It dissolves it. And when it dissolves that, who do you see? You see yourself, finally. In this lifetime, not in another lifetime, but it takes work. This is 3 poems from Basho, the great Japanese poet and sage. He said, along my journey through the transitory world, New Year's, house cleaning. So you have absolute and you have relative. You have the vertical, which is the absolute. The relative is the mundane. Clean house, house cleaning. Put all things in order. Throw away the old things so you can go forward. Transitory world. You know, this fleeting world. There's the future. It's going to be lunch. And then what will I do after this? Where will I go after this? What will I do to entertain myself or to go to sleep? Or there's the future, there's the past. New Year's is kind of interesting phenomena. It brings, my doctor said they usually don't take too many patients toward the end of the year because they start complaining and dumping. Because all of a sudden the end of the year has come, and then either you know it or you don't know it, but something is burning inside. There's not a sense of satisfaction, you know, a sense of maybe loneliness or a disturbance. It's not quite clear because what did you do that whole year? What did you not do also is doing. You know, all that stuff is very important. I mean, I'm not saying to have a perfect year, but, you know, sometimes we should know what we're doing, what we're not doing. Not doing is good too. Here's the second one. Year's end, all corners of this floating world swept. Last one, on New Year's Day, each thought, a loneliness as winter dust descends. And they say that one thought does not engender another thought. One thought does not produce another thought. So this is kind of important to remember. This is from the famous late Dzogchen master, His Holiness Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. He was also the teacher of many great lamas and also His Holiness. He said, I'll read this again. Thoughts are the play of pure awareness. That's the essence of mind, essence of each one of our minds. Pure awareness, pure prajna, pure wisdom. This is our real mind. And the real mind is not up here, not up in the head. It's your entire being is the real mind. And this mind connects to everything. This is the big mind. This is the small mind, what we're taught in school. So thoughts are the play of pure awareness. They arise within it and they dissolve back into it. It all comes from our pure mind. And to recognize this pure mind as the very source of each and every thought is to recognize that our thoughts have never begun, has no duration, and do not cease. In other words, there's no substance to the thought, because they're empty of substance. They just how did Uchiyama Roshi say? They bubble up. It's like a muscle, and they just autonomously, they just secrete these juices, and we just keep on thinking. We just keep on thinking. But with concentration, you can bypass it. You can turn your attention, not trying to stop the secretion, but you bypass it by concentration. Samadhi, okay? To recognize pure awareness, or your mind, the essence of mind, as the very source of thoughts, is to recognize that our thoughts have never begun, have no duration, and do not end. There's no beginning, no end. At that point, thoughts can no longer bother you. You are not imprisoned by your thoughts. And here's the this is the example. I was like, I've read it many times. As long as we run after our thoughts, we are like a dog chasing a stick. Each time we throw the stick, you know what happens. Okay. If we look at our enlightened consciousness, our essence of mind, instead, which is the source of all this thinking, we will see that each thought arises and dissolves in the space of that consciousness. It's beyond good, beyond bad, beyond neutral. Each thought, without engendering other thoughts. Just each thought. Each thought does not cause another thought. Then we will be like a lion. We are Manjusri, the guy that's sitting on the lion up there, which does not chase after the stick, but turns to the face of the thrower. You can only throw a stick at a lion once. Paul Disco said that, I told him this, and he says like he has a dog, and he throws the stick to his dog, and what his dog does, he runs after the stick, then he gives it back, then then the dog throws the stick, so Paul will go chase it. There's that too. There was a famous koan, Daitsu Chisho Buddha, and it said that he sat for 10 kalpas. Do you know how long a kalpa is? It's an eon. It's forever time, unlimited time. He sat for 10 kalpas in the Zendo, here. But the Buddha Dharma never appeared. And why was that? Because he was waiting for it. But it was already here. It's already within yourself. So the thing is to sit zazen, that's the most important thing. In a good posture, let the thinking go and start concentrating on breath counting, your posture. Turn your light inward and start dissolving this stuff, this unquenchable thoughts that drive us crazy. It's the only way. And little by little, as you maintain that kind of concentration of samadhi, your original light, your essence will open to itself. And I'm not saying it's a shortcut. Everything is not a shortcut, but it's the best way to your essence of mind. And also, I like to just say that this talk is just like a recipe. You have to taste the food. How can you look at the recipe over and over again until you have to taste the food, eat the food? That's the most important thing, is to practice. And not practice just by yourself, but with people. That's the most important thing, and the greatest thing you can do in this life. I end with this Chinese 400-year poem about the dragon. This is the dragon year. I am an unquenchable fire, the center of all energy, the stout, heroic heart. I am truth and light. I hold power and glory in my sway. My presence dispels dark clouds. I have been chosen to tame the fates. I am the dragon. Happy New Year, everybody. Galaxy right now, and each one is a star. Each one, and is shining brightly. What does a star do? A star shines and illuminates. And we revolve in that same manner. So it's really, I mean, even when Suzuki-roshi asked me to become ordained, I said, I'm not good. I'm a bad boy, or I'm not good enough. But that's your ego again. And the ego is right along with you. They say, it's said in the Abhidharma, an ancient text, that in one instant, this like an instant like this, one instant, there are 6,000 births and deaths within your being, with the entire universe. And it's moving in that way that we're in the shadow, the big shadow of reality. Our conditioned thoughts, what we're thinking of, they've gone. The instances are moving. Time is ticking. It's moving. And it's hard for us to catch up with it because we don't know that this life is so ephemeral. Charlie Musselwhite, renowned harmonica player, blues, he sent me this email, what Gandhi said. They asked Gandhi, what do you think of Western civilization? And Gandhi said, I think it's a good idea. but that's not what Gandhi meant. I admired him even more and more so because he was one of the only people in history that did nonviolence. I mean, he was a genius. And not just a genius, but he took the risk and the beatings to prove that it works. You know, he stepped out, he stepped over the line. And that's what we have to do in our very life. We can't just sit back. It's after our holidays, getting up late, eating good food. We have to step forward again, again, and again, and again. Each star is encouraging each other. Unless there's a black hole. But the stars are shining right now, but we can't see them. And this is, okay, so that's what Gandhi said. And someone, Suzuki-roshi, used to give talks, and he said, probably the average age was like 20 to, oldest was probably 35. But we were all pretty young. And he said, just as you are, it's okay, just like yourself, just how you are. But he meant it in a very Zen sense, how you are without the projections and the obstructions, just how you are. And then all the students looked at him, you mean just how I am? And then he said, with a little improvement. See, that's the difference. So may we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. And the chant that we just chanted is not for me, but it's for all of us. And according to your own condition and being, how true it is that you are profound, more than you can understand or imagine how profound each one of us is. It's like we're in this